in the last century, I used to act in films and TV shows like Dr. Detroit, or Phantom of Paradise, Golden Girl, LA Law. I did the whole gamut from comedy to tragedy, and I loved every minute of it. And one day my agent, a man of few words, called me up and said, "I've submitted you for a show called V. It's all about aliens invading Earth. Have you ever seen it?" I said, "No." He said, "Oh, great." There goes the whole story. Anyway, he said, "Well, watch it tonight, it's on." So I did. And it starred Mark Singer and Michael Ironside and Jane Badler, a host of good actors. So I sat down to watch a fun evening of television. V's all about these space aliens who on their own planet are giant lizards. But when they come to Earth, they disguise themselves as human beings. Original? Maybe. Weird, certainly. But it was the first sci-fi show I'd ever been in, so I was very excited about it. Besides, I had nothing against giant lizards, whether they were on Earth or in space. And finally, you've got to pay the rent. So my agent sent me the sides, which were for an event planner called Oswald. Apparently giant lizards like to throw great parties. And this was going to be a really great one because they hired an event planner. Well, I learnt the lines and I went off to do my audition at Warner Brothers. I used to like going to auditions in those days because if you set up a good rapport with the casting director, they could tweak your performance. But now it's all done online and I miss that human interaction. Besides, it's not so much fun shooting an audition in your kitchen, even if you do move all the pots and pans. Anyway, there were 6 other actors there, some of which I recognized, some I didn't. But I must have done pretty well because my agent called me the next day and said, "Good news, you got the part." Oh, I was delighted. So the next week I went off to Warner Brothers, and the first place they sent me to was the costume department. And they outfitted me in a bright orange jumpsuit. Oh man, it was so cool. It was really great. But I quickly discovered that lizards liked orange. Because I went to the set, everybody there almost was dressed in orange jumpsuits. That's how you could tell the lizards from the other people. My job as the event planner was to make this entire big extravaganza with food and hostesses and all sorts of things, and also instruct the poor peasants, the human beings, to do what they had to do because they had to do the bidding of us fiendish lizard overlords. I watched the scene being shot and then it was my turn. And the PA led me to my spot and everybody else got into position. And then the associate director said, "Lights, sound, camera," and a voice said, "Do it gay." I looked around to see if someone was pranking me. The only person behind me was the director, so he was the one who must have said it. And then he said, "Action!" And so in that moment, the very first gay space alien lizard event planner by the name of Oswald was born. I don't remember what the exact lines were, but they were things like, "Put that over there." "No, not there." "There." And in a few moments, it was all over. We just shot one scene, and then I went home, and I thought no more about it. I was just waiting for the check. When 2 days later, the man of few words called me up again and said, "Good news, they want you next week." "They do? For the same role?" "Yes, for the same role." Well, now I began to get excited. I mean, I'd done different roles on things like Laverne and Shirley and Barney Miller, but when you did the same part on a thing, that's like series time. Big money. I mean, people who bought houses, even an island. so it could be done. Now, they always shot like 3 or 4 episodes ahead, so now I could sit down and really watch the show and study it. And, yeah, it was sort of interesting. It was kind of weird and funny in a strange way, and I saw how I could contribute to it. And I went back there to him the next week, and it went even better than the first week. And then 2 days later, my agent called me again and said, they want you for the 3rd and final show of the season. And I was ecstatic. Oh my God. And this one went even better than the first 2. And then we went on hiatus. And for the first 2 weeks, I just drove around LA trying to plan where I would build my house. Would it be at the top of Laurel Canyon or down at the beach in Malibu? I spent many nights, just agonizing about this. And so I was really disappointed when my agent called and said, bad news, they've cancelled the series. That's how I felt. But I thought, wait. I can call up a costume department and buy my costume. So I called them up and asked if I could do that, and they said, no, sorry, we just dyed it black for another show. All right, easy come, easy go. And I forgot all about it for a couple of years until 1988, the writers went on strike, and I was now a writer as well as an actor. So I was walking around CBS studios with my picket sign, which said, no pay, no work, which I thought was rather unimaginative for a group of writers. When all of a sudden, somebody broke ranks from another line and came over and said, are you Peter Elwin? And I said, yes. He said, you were Oswald in V, weren't you? I said, yes. He said, I wrote that. I said, oh man, that was great. I had such a good time. Oh no, you brought my words to life. And for the next couple of minutes, there was a little love fest between us. But that was just the first step on this long road to glory. Because a couple of years later, I got some calls from people in Baltimore who had started a V fan club. And they wanted me to be an honorary member. And I said, yes, of course, I was flattered. And then I got messages from people in Spain, in France, in Italy, in Argentina. V fan clubs were springing up all over the world, and I was making new friends everywhere. And somebody even wrote an autobiography of Oswald. It turned out he was not just an event planner, but also a mortician. And although he liked to procure young men for his female overlords, he liked to partake himself. He called them sweet morsels and tender hearts. And had the show continued, apparently he was going to experiment on human beings. If only I'd known all that when I did the part. But best of all these people sent me these beautiful, handsome pictures of me as Oswald in my wonderful orange jumpsuit. And I shall treasure them for the rest of my life.